Listen to me on the guitar. I play so beautifully, don't you agree? Yeah, right. If only that was me. I feel good. I feel good today. Totally recovered now from my cold. It's scary to get a cold. A sinus infection these days. Because the symptoms are the exact same symptoms as COVID, right? But I'm good, no COVID. I got full protection. I got 2 shots of the Pfizer, 2 shots of the Moderna, 3 shots of the J&J, 6 boosters, and a shot of bleach just to be on the safe side. Thanks for joining me. I hope this show is productive. I really do. As you may have noticed, I tagged some people when I tweeted the show. That's because I had a productive conversation on Twitter. What I feel was a productive conversation, at least, not a waste of time. And so I thought I would follow up on that. Tag some of the people who were helpful and contributed in a meaningful and positive way. It goes without saying, not all people were positive. One guy tweeted, "No one cares, dork." At least I know he listened to the show. How else would he know I was a dork if he listened to the show? If you listen to this show, the one thing you know is I'm a dork. So at least he listened. There was another guy who said he listened for 10 seconds and you guys need Xanax. I don't know if that was a positive or a negative. I also don't know why he thought he heard 2 people talking or multiple people talking. But, you know, take the feedback that you get, I guess. It's cool. Let's start the show. So the discussion on Twitter focused on unions. Starbucks and by association, Amazon. After I give you my thoughts on that, I'll talk a little bit about some comments I got in reference to the transgender LGBTQ segment of the last episode. And if I have time, I've not talked about COVID in a long time. So I just want to give a couple of thoughts on that. You know what? Actually, let me just get that out of the way quickly. Here are my thoughts to the people rejoicing about the end of the mask mandates for travel, celebrating the Biden administration mandate being struck down in court as if some monumentous victory for liberty. I celebrate with you. Doesn't it feel good? Doesn't it feel better? Doesn't it feel good not to feel a little safer, to be around people? Don't mess it up. Please, I'm begging you. As the masks come off, don't let your stubbornness take us backwards. Please, get vaccinated. If you still haven't gotten vaccinated, get vaccinated. Oh, yeah, but the vaccine doesn't work. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. No, it doesn't. They told us the vaccine will stop COVID. No, they didn't. They told us to get 2 shots. Some of you got 1. Some of you got none. They told us to keep the mask on after the shot. Some people didn't. They told us to still keep social gatherings small. Some people didn't. Some people held motorcycle rallies. They told us to still maintain a social distance from people. Some people did not. They told us to wash your filthy hands. Everything they told us to do, people fought doing it. Everything they told us to do that was supposed to be in conjunction with taking the vaccine, people didn't do. Then it mutated into Omicron, which the vaccine didn't work against. And they all said, "See, told you the vaccine didn't work." Okay, so time has passed. Billions of shots worldwide have been given. It would appear we have enough preliminary evidence that the vaccine won't kill you. You won't fall over dead after getting it. It's safe. So go get it. Why not? Don't take us backwards to another mutation. Don't turn us into Shanghai, China. Consider this. Just consider this. There's some people that are holding on to 2 completely contradicting thoughts in their heads right now. Thought 1, the election was stolen from Donald Trump because the vaccine release was delayed until after the election to help Biden and hurt Trump. Thought number 2, I'm not taking the vaccine because it wasn't tested enough and was rushed and it's not safe. Marjorie Taylor Greene is one of these people. She would tell you they robbed Trump by holding back the release of the vaccine until after the election. They held the vaccine back. It was ready to go in people's arms. It would have helped Trump, would have helped him in the election, but they held it back. And she would also tell you that vaccine was not FDA approved and it's not safe to go in people's arms. Some people will even go so far as to tell you there's a difference between the Trump vaccine and the Biden vaccine, as if Biden and Fauci suddenly became Walter White and Jesse from Breaking Bad, cooking up vaccine in some camper in the Arizona desert. Biden and Fauci in their underwear, cooking vaccine, making millions of dollars. No longer the safe vaccine developed by Operation Warp Speed. No longer the greatest achievement in vaccine development history, as Trump constantly took credit for. Suddenly, Biden's making vaccine in the bathtub at the White House. Stop it. Stop it. I beg of you. A lot of mistakes have been made along the way. A lot of mistakes. Bad information, maybe even some government overreach. I'll give you that. I'll give you all that. But let's not make mistakes that take us back to the mandates that you clearly hate so much. On to the Twitter discussion. I was going to sit and go through and read some of the tweets, but I have a lot of information to present to you. So I'll just reference some as we discuss. And as I said, some were helpful, some were not. If you got tagged and you were still listening, you were probably helpful. And by the way, the people who were not helpful, that just piled on to negative comments or insults by just hitting the like button, it's fine. I get it. Twitter is a toxic place, and you don't know me from a hole in the ground. So the insults really don't bother me personally. It just bothers me that it slows down productive conversation. That's all. I'm just still in search of that spot on social media where people can have disagreements without insulting one another. Okay, so for context, all this started when someone tweeted about a recent successful union vote at Starbucks. I tweeted to that person, don't be too quick to celebrate. There could be a backlash. This set off a firestorm. People immediately assumed I must be some rich cattle baron that swindles people out of their land and hates unions. I tried to explain, no, I was just trying to have an intelligent conversation about the pros and cons of unions. A handful of people engaged in a meaningful conversation, albeit still with the defenses up. But they asked questions. Why do I think there is a push right now for unions? Isn't it because businesses have been treating workers so poorly? Now, it surprised me, but there was a big pushback from people on my suggestion there could be a downside to this recent push for unions. Listen, there's a downside to winning $1 million in the lottery. There's a downside to just about anything. So I didn't think explaining the potential backlash from corporations was necessary. But one person also suggested or asked, why would there be a backlash? Even if the leverage shifts back to business, because I said right now the leverage is on the side of labor. Even if the leverage shifts back to business, away from labor, wouldn't labor still be protected if there's a union in place? So again, how could there be backlash? All fair, good questions. I got no problem. But letting down your defenses, getting out of that mindset that we're all in, that it's, my side or your side. And if you have something negative to say about unions, you must be on the other side. Letting down those defenses presents obvious answers. Union contracts get renegotiated. So if leverage shifts back in favor of business in a year, in 3 years, 5 years, however long the contract is, do you think the union, just because of its existence, will be able to protect workers from backlash? No. We don't have to wonder. We've seen it. We've seen many examples. Striking workers being fired, replaced. Striking workers having to go back to work for less. What? You think every strike has been successful for labor? Back in the early 90s, when the economy was slow, about 40% of strikes failed. 40% of strikes failed to achieve their objective. That comes from the National Bureau of Economic Research. So why are we assuming, hey, you're unhappy, get a union, go on strike, get what you want? That's not the way it works. Now, that number, of course, flips, and more strikes are successful when the economy is better and the labor pool shrinks. Right now, in a good economy, 10,000 striking John Deere workers are trying to get back benefits they lost when the economy was slow. So now the leverage has flipped back into their favor, the John Deere workers, and they're trying to get back benefits they used to have. And that's the story of the what and the why all over the country. Workers who were called essential are asking, hey, if I'm so essential, why are you treating me so poorly? Why aren't you rewarding me for my essential work? Why are we not cashing in on the billions the company has made with record profits? That's the labor side that I totally agree with. I have no problem with. Have no problem with any of that, but I like to look at things from every side. So from the business side, I say, John Deere workers, okay, I get it. But a picker-packer, a barista, an entry-level employee? Now, before anyone gets offended, I'm not insulting anyone's employment. I'm asking from a business standpoint. Listen, we got to get beyond this. Every single entry-level worker is an angel on earth. I leave that to the pundits, to the people with the agenda. I don't have an agenda. So I'll be honest here. And you be honest. You be honest with me. If the union comes to your place of business, if you're an entry-level employee, if you're a barista, if you work in Amazon, if the union comes to your place of employment, can you think of anyone who would not deserve the benefits the union would afford you? If you're honest, you could think of 3 people off the top of your head you want to go punch dead in the face tomorrow. So, yeah, there are people who would benefit from these things that may not necessarily deserve to benefit from these things. So, Jerry, he shows up to work high half the time. So that's the business point of view. But it's also from a practical standpoint. If entry-level workers start getting the pay, perks, and benefits management used to get, management has to get more, right? Everyone makes more, right? Well, that's great. What's wrong with that? Well, that cuts into businesses' profits. And in case you didn't know, business hates that. So prices go up and potentially employment shrinks. That comes from a Princeton University study that concluded after studying 27,000 businesses, the response to unionization was most likely less employment. As far as the higher wages, I told you, prices go up. We all know this. Union or non-union, wages have not kept up with inflation. I hear people on the left all the time now screaming, how come everything is up except wages? Wages were up 4% in 2021, the largest increase in 20 years. Biden brags about it. The left brags about it. At the same time, they're saying, how come everything is up except for wages? Largest increase in 20 years, 4%, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Now, the problem is inflation is up 8%. The problem isn't businesses aren't paying more to attract labor. They are. The problem is inflation is up, so we're not feeling it. We're on that treadmill we've been on for the past how many ever years because inflation never keeps up with wages, union or non-union. So I present my evidence to the jury. That's why I'm trying to cite everything for you here. Give you the evidence. I'll put it all on the website. www.thecomparisongroup.com. I'll put it under the sources. You can go and read all about it yourself, all about the studies on the effects of unions. But I don't do it to win an argument. I don't present this evidence because I'm trying to win an argument. I present it to have a discussion. That's the theme of the show for about a year, for over 50 shows. That's the theme, same theme throughout every show. Discussion, not debate, not arguing, not trying to change people's minds. Just try to look at things with an open mind from all sides, because that's how you learn. You know, you really don't learn a whole lot if you just talk to people who are going to agree with everything you say. Just listening to people who are going to tell you what you want to hear, you really don't learn anything that way. It really doesn't cause you to really think about things. So, okay, comparison group guy, give me something to think about. Give me something to think about. Okay, well, maybe what you haven't considered is from a business standpoint. From a business standpoint, I may want to give my employees the best pay, the best benefits in the industry. Let's just say, for argument's sake, I own a landscaping company and I have 150 employees and I want to treat them real well. I value my employees. I want to give them the best pay. I want to give them health care. I want to give them paid vacation. But what happens is every time I go to bid a job, I'm higher and I lose the bid. And so my business suffers and I go out of business because I can't win any bids because I have to set my prices so much higher than the competition in my area. So it's not that I was a greedy, bad business person. I was trying to be generous, but my competition that maybe was being greedy, that was not doing the right thing, they're in business and I'm not. So what do we do about that? As consumers, ask yourself, how often do you drive past a Target or a Walmart, drive past a big retail chain to get to a small business? Think about it. That's our collective bargaining too, where we spend our dollars. How much trouble do you go through, and are you willing to pay more to spend your money at a small business as opposed to one of the large corporations? It's been said, it's been written about. Every town in America is starting to look exactly the same. They wrote about this 20 or 30 years ago. Every town in America is starting to look exactly the same, meaning all the small businesses are disappearing. The small grocers, the small butcher shop, the small optometrist, the little small pharmacy. They all were disappearing and being replaced by all the big box stores, by all the big corporations. Every strip mall had a Target or a Kmart or a TGI Fridays. And we did that. We as consumers, we did that. We allowed that to happen because we didn't patronize the small businesses. And we're doing it again now. Every small town in America is starting to look exactly the same. The difference now is the similarities are now you have one Target in a strip mall and the other three businesses are empty. They're out of business. You like to read? You want to buy a book? Are you going to go to Amazon and buy it? Or are you going to go to the small local bookstore to buy it? Some people have no choice. Some people, it's what they can afford because maybe it's more expensive at the small bookstore than it is on Amazon. Are you willing to use social media for something other than insulting people and saying, hey, listen, if you need some cupcakes for a birthday party or a good sheet cake, don't go to the grocery store. Don't go to Walmart. Here's a good bakery in the area you can go to. Here's a good little small business florist I found. Here's a good little small business butcher shop I found. Here's a good little small produce stand that I found. Let's start giving our money to those businesses, even if it costs us a little bit more. That's also your collective bargaining power. Do we do it? Nope. All we do is complain. That's all we do is complain. You know, I have to give credit where credit is due. The Joe Madison Show on Sirius XM Radio. Joe Madison Show. He's on for, I believe, 3 or 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, and I would guarantee you at least 5 times a show, he says to a caller who calls up to complain, so what are you going to do about it? I think it might have been what drew me into listening to his show for the past several years I've been listening. He asked a question, so what are you going to do about it? To the caller complaining. And by far, it's the hardest question anybody ever has to answer. Nobody has an answer. Almost no one has a good answer. They're all set to make their complaint and state their problem and what they're frustrated, upset about. But as soon as you say, okay, so what are you going to do about it? Why are you calling me? They have no answer. And Joe Madison likes to say, everyone can do something. Everyone can do something. And after listening to that for years, I said, I guess I can do something. Maybe I can start a podcast because I have this foolish, optimistic curse within me that maybe if I can get a few people to understand that if you talk to one another and listen to one another and have disagreements with one another, maybe it'll help. Maybe it'll help this country. Not me. It doesn't have to be me. I seek neither fame nor fortune, but maybe it'll start someone else coming up with a podcast that does the same thing. Because I searched and I searched and I searched, and I couldn't find something that says, hey, let's look at everything from both sides. Maybe there's something out there, but it's hard to find. You either get one side or the other now. That's it. That's all you get. That's all that's popular. It's all that's popular is because it's all that anyone will listen to. But maybe if someone would listen to something else, and then their ideas would come out, and then they'll do a podcast, or they'll do a YouTube show, or they'll do a blog, and then people will pick up on that. And now all of a sudden, looking at things from both sides becomes popular. And now a crazy thing happens. We start to elect people who look at things from all sides and do what's best. Not what's politically in their best interest, but what's actually best. Moving away from the extremist positions on either side and moving more to the center. And so after a ton of self-doubt and a lot of encouragement from my wife, as I've talked about before, and other family members, I said maybe I'll start a podcast to talk to the center of the country. And it did take a lot of encouragement and prodding because I didn't know, is there still a center of the country? Will anyone listen? Does anyone care? What if somebody calls me a dork? But I think there is a center out there. I think this is a centrist country. Still, we just have to recognize it and catch ourselves when we're straying far, far, far away from the center, where I believe most of the country is. And I'll leave you with that point. I'll leave you with that point based on probably what was the most shocking tweet that I got in the Twitter conversation, which just blew my mind. I'll leave you with that. You know what? I had a bunch more I wanted to say on unions, but listen, if I get feedback, if people listen to the show, if you share the show, I'll continue. I'll continue the discussion. I'm happy to. It helps me, certainly, but I think we can help each other. I think this is what this is about. I think having a discussion, exchanging ideas, it gets the juices flowing, which, oh, by the way, let me not forget to mention this important thing, because I don't think you're going to hear this a whole lot. Again, from pundits, whatever, because the anti-union side is certainly not going to mention it to you, and the pro-union side doesn't want to mention it either. But it's public opinion. Public opinion is very important when it comes to unions. We know there has been plummeting union membership over the past few decades. Union membership has decreased greatly. Now, a lot of people will tell you, well, that's union busting and that's bad, greedy corporations. But it was also public opinion, a shift in public opinion. People started feeling as if, oh, look at these union people. You can't fire them. They can do anything they want. They can show up to work drunk and you can't fire them. Look at these union people. Look at the demands that they're making. They're putting too many demands on companies that aren't fair. I think there was a story about one of the unions at the automakers that required the automaker to pay the workers even when they weren't automaking, even when they weren't making cars. If business was slow and there was no need to make cars, the workers still got paid. And so the public opinion of that was, really? And that hurt union numbers. That hurt union membership because it allowed the companies to lobby Congress to change some laws that hurt unions. Don't make that same mistake. If you're pro-union, don't make that same mistake. I was reading up a little bit on the Starbucks unions and their principles of fairness, and one of the things it appears they're asking for is unlimited 5-minute breaks. That seems interesting to me. Someone would have to explain that to me. Unlimited 5-minute breaks? If the general public starts to hear things like that, the public opinion could shift away from labor in favor of labor where it is now, because people see these massive corporations making incredible profits and their CEOs zipping off into space. And so the public opinion is in favor of labor, but it could easily shift if there is an overreach by unions. People, they ask me, what do you mean? How could there possibly be an overreach by unions? Unlimited 5-minute breaks could possibly be that overreach, especially if I'm late for a meeting because I can't get my caramel macchiato because Harriet is on her 10th 5-minute break of the day. Believe me when I tell you, one of the things stopping some of the big corporations from moving quickly to automation is public opinion. The technology is there. The technology exists, but these corporations recognize it could backfire on them if they lay off half their workforce and replace them with robots or with automation. They recognize that public opinion could really hurt them, the negative public opinion, from laying off all of your workers and replacing them with robots, laying off all your truck drivers and replacing them with automated trucks, replacing drivers with drones, delivering drones to people's houses. The technology is there. You think these corporations are worried about lawsuits? They'll fly a drone straight in your house, chop your head off, and consider it a business expense. They don't care if it saves them billions of dollars in union pay and union benefits. They don't care. So the technology is there. The desire is there. I believe public opinion is one of the only things stopping them. So be careful. Don't shift that public opinion in the business's favor. Okay, let's get to the last thing, a comment that truly shocked me in the Twitter discussion last week. So as I was being attacked, for lack of a better word, I tried to explain, hey, I'm not your enemy. I'm just trying to see things from all sides. I'm trying to look at the positive and the negative. I'm trying to look at the pros and cons of collective bargaining. And I got attacked for that. I got attacked. People told me they thought I was being disingenuous. I can't even spell disingenuous. Not to mention the fact I'm on the record. I do a podcast for a year now. So I've been taking the same try to see all sides of an issue approach for a year now, including 2 shows I had just done days earlier, specifically on unions. So I certainly wasn't looking into the future and knowing I was going to be in a Twitter kerfuffle, arguing with people, again, for lack of a better word, discussing. So the same thoughts I was presenting on Twitter, I had already presented a couple of weeks earlier in a couple of different shows. The same ideas I was presenting on Twitter, I have already presented in shows months ago, in my Bernie Sanders show and other shows that I had done in terms of problems I have with a progressive approach to things. So this was nothing new for me. This was nothing disingenuous or dishonest. This was just my thoughts. And I got attacked. But what was shocking was that I got attacked because I was seen as taking a centrist position on things. That's what someone tweeted. They gave this, I can't remember what it was, and I couldn't find it, but the name of some type of condition or philosophy or something, meaning middle of the road people. Middle of the road people are bad for some sort of reason. And someone tweeted, it's centrist thinking that has gotten us to where we are. No, I would argue it's extreme and flexible. No, I'm right, you're wrong positions on things that have gotten us to where we are right now. Every week I do the show. I doubt whether the show is worth doing. Every week. I don't mind telling you. It's fun. I enjoy doing it, but I question what's the use? What's the use of trying to do a show like this when people are so dug in on their positions? It's much easier to do a show where you tell people what they want to hear. It's much easier to do a show when you confirm what people already think. People feel good about that. So I wonder, what's the use of trying to do a show that challenges people, sometimes tell people, nah, I think you might be wrong about that one. I think you might need to rethink it. What's the use? But I believe there are still people out there that think the same way I do. I still think there are people out there that are still willing to talk, and I just can't help it. I can't help it. I can't help pointing out and asking people, why do you think that? Don't you recognize what's wrong with your way of thinking? Don't you recognize the pattern on the left right now? You don't recognize it? Hillary Clinton. She lost 3 states, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, by 88,000 votes combined. Not 88,000 votes each state. No, 88,000 votes combined between those 3 states because she wasn't progressive enough. She didn't check all the boxes for people. So people took a protest third-party vote or didn't vote at all. Mike Bloomberg got eviscerated on the debate stage by Elizabeth Warren. How dare you be a billionaire and run for president as a Democrat? Who cares if he might have made a good public servant? Who cares if he might have been a halfway decent mayor of New York? He didn't check all the boxes. So no, Mike Bloomberg, you're out. We haven't seen him since. Somebody better check Elizabeth Warren trunk for Mike Bloomberg, because I don't know where he is. How about Joe Manchin? I once heard someone call into a radio show, liberal radio show, and suggest Joe Manchin might be in the KKK. No joke, because he came out against the John Lewis voting rights bill. He must be in the KKK. Just imagine, if you will, if Joe Manchin had been a yes vote on every Biden policy so far. What chance would you give him in November in West Virginia, a state with 3 Democrats, Manchin being one of them? The Democrats know they can't afford to lose a single seat in the Senate, and yet they have not missed an opportunity to attack Joe Manchin. And, of course, Barack Obama, the biggest centrist of them all. No, not Barack Obama. The left doesn't attack Barack Obama. Listen to this.
America's election headquarters tonight. The ideological divisions within the Democratic Party are on full display tonight. Last night, during a candidate debate, if you expected attacks on someone who has already won the presidency, you were not disappointed. But you probably did not predict who that would be. Correspondent Peter Doocy has the surprising answer tonight from Detroit.
That's right. Democrats spent the debate dissing the legacy of Barack Obama and, by extension, his VP for deporting too many illegal immigrants.
Was Barack to the future at the Democratic debate in Detroit? Barack Obama, who last ran for president in 2012, became a frequent target as candidates tried to get his vice president.
Several of Biden's rivals attacked President Obama's record on health care and immigration.
Joe Biden was out yesterday talking about the debate. Even he was surprised by the way some of his competitors went after the Obama legacy. Check it out.
I must tell you, I was a little surprised at how much their incoming was about Barack, about the president. I mean, I'm proud of having served with him. I'm proud of the job he did. I don't think there's anything he has to apologize for. And I think, it kind of surprised me, the degree of the criticism. And he focused on immigration. And what he did was serious. The idea that somehow it's comparable to what this guy's doing is absolutely bizarre.
I was watching the so-called debate last night.
Oh, my goodness, that voice. I'm sorry. I should have given you a warning. I should always give a warning before I'm going to play that voice. If you're listening in your car, you might have just driven off the road. I'm sorry. Start it over. You got to take your medicine. You got to hear this.
I was watching the so-called debate last night. And I also watched the night before. That was long television. And the Democrats spent more time attacking Barack Obama than they did attacking me, practically.
So does that feel good? Does that feel good to listen to those clips? Of course it doesn't. And I remember those debates. And it didn't feel good to sit there and watch Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren like pit bulls fighting tooth and nail against agreement. Everyone on the stage was in agreement. We got to get people health care. Everyone. And yet Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren would fight tooth and nail. Nope, but you got to do it my way. And all I could do is sit there and watch and say, oh my goodness, Bernie Sanders is going to cost us this election just like he did Hillary Clinton. If they keep ripping in to the moderates on the stage, they're going to cost us the election just like they did Hillary Clinton. They almost did. Joe Biden did not win states like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Georgia by whopping margins. He just didn't. Joe Biden running against Donald Trump. It was not a landslide, just like the Trump loss was not a landslide. Joe Biden did not win that election by a landslide. A guy who was vice president in what I consider to be a pretty doggone good administration, but now I guess some on the left have decided was a bad administration because his policies were too centrist. And centrist policies have gotten us where we are today. No, Extreme positions have gotten us where we are today. Extreme positions have caused this gridlock. Yes, I consider a $3.5 trillion spending bill extreme. In a country with a 133% debt to GDP ratio, yeah, I consider that kind of spending extreme. By the time it got reduced to $1.5 trillion, it had been so politicized, there was no way Manchin could vote for it. Here's a hint, Democrats. If you want a Democrat from a red or moderate state to vote for something, don't keep going on TV and bashing that Democrat. Bernie, don't keep going on TV and calling the bill a cornerstone of this presidency or a once-in-a-generation transformational change. The more you hype it up, the harder it makes it for a moderate to vote for it. We look at the right and say, look how crazy they've gotten. Their leaders used to be John McCain and Mitt Romney. That's who they nominated on their side to be president. And now it's Trump. They're crazy. But on the left, our leaders used to be Clinton and Obama. But some seem to want the next president to be Alexandria, I won't carry anything larger than a $5 bill, Ocasio-Cortez. Alexandria, I thought Elon Musk was a cologne for dogs, Ocasio-Cortez, was a no vote on the infrastructure bill. She's from New York, and she was a no vote on the infrastructure bill. You know, the bill that provides money for roads, bridges, tunnels, airports, seaports, and helps fight climate change. She was a no vote, along with other progressives. Apparently, if Alexandria Shaken Not Stirred Ocasio-Cortez doesn't get everything she wants, New York and her constituents get nothing. It's not practical. It's just not practical. If we all move from the center to the far left or to the far right, that's how politicians will have to campaign to those positions. That's how they'll have to campaign. And that's how they'll have to govern if they get elected to the far left and to the far right. Because, you know, the next campaign starts as soon as the last election ends. So that's how they'll have to govern if they want to win that next election for their party, the next election for the party. So Democrat in office, you're going to push far to the left. Republican in office, they'll come in and undo everything and push far to the right. Democrat back in office, undo everything and then push far back to that. And there we go, back and forth, never making any progress. It's a silly way of thinking. To me, how about you? But this silly way of thinking, it also makes really smart people do really dumb things. I talk about conservative politics and policies all the time and what I think is silly or dumb, excuse the expression. What about on the left? What do I see that I think is equally silly or dumb? Beto O'Rourke. Every day I get a tweet from a Democrat or from a Democratic organization telling me how Beto O'Rourke is going to take Texas. Now, you know how people say anything can happen? Not that. Beto O'Rourke is diametrically opposed to the three things the vast majority of the people of Texas care about the most: guns, immigration, and abortion. He is at the far other end of the spectrum on those three things: guns, immigration, abortion. And some smart people, I don't doubt that they're smart, these consultants, think tank people, some smart people in the Democratic Party thought it would be a good idea for him to run for governor of Texas against Greg Abbott. That's like running to be governor of a strip club and being opposed to fake breasts, high heels, and nudity. Now, I know we're conditioned in this country right now. When you hear something that just doesn't jive with what you want to hear, the reflex reaction is to immediately think of ways to disagree. That's fine by me, as long as we start thinking in this country again. That's the show. Did you make it? Did you make it all the way through? Good for you. Good for you if you made it through. It's not easy. It's not easy sometimes. You're listening to someone you don't know. But if you made it through, give yourself a round of applause. You deserve it. Now, the people I tagged, I'm not going to tag you again. That's it. You want to give me feedback? Give me feedback. It's always welcome. But tell me what you think. Don't send me links. Don't go find someone who loves unions and send me an article by that person.
When I wake up in the morning, love, and the sunlight
Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think about what I said, about the things I cited in the show. That's a good discussion back and forth. Just sending me other people's thoughts, not so much. But listen, like I said, feedback is welcome. Share the show. It helps me, but it helps all of us. It makes all of us smarter. It makes me smarter because I learn things from you. Thanks for listening. Follow me on Twitter at @comparison_show, @comparison_show. You can find the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, anywhere you get podcasts. Find me amongst other great podcasts on the Podbreed Network. Podbreed Network of podcasts. Download in the app stores. Thanks for listening. Thanks for your feedback. It really is much appreciated, and I'll see you next time.